What's up guys, Brett Medlock here, and I wanted to talk about a game called Fallen Legion for the PS4 and PlayStation Vita. This game is two different games on each platform, but ultimately it's pretty much the same experience if you buy it on either console. There's not any major differences that I've experienced so far. The main differences between the two games is Fallen Legion Sins of an Empire on PS4, you play as a female, and with the cutscenes, which aren't really real cutscenes, they're just kind of text with like image stills on the screen, so it's nothing like high presentation or anything. But the differences between the PS4 and the PS Vita version is that those scenes are, they're a different person and different voiceover. On PS4 you play as a girl and there's obviously female voiceover, and then on PlayStation Vita you play as a male and it's just the male's voiceover. And I found it kind of strange because it just kind of seems like they made this game that's pretty much the same game on both platforms, which isn't necessarily bad. I'll get more into it in a minute, but the two games aren't really different in any way besides the fact that you play as a girl in one and a boy in the other. There might be little subtle differences like the overworld map that you use before you go into battle, but honestly not much of a difference between either game. So I wouldn't go out and buy both versions if you're thinking that you're going to get two like wildly different experiences. I would have preferred if it was just one game that had cross-save functionality. I really love that feature and a bunch of other like JRPGs for Vita and PS4. I use it all the time, especially with games like this. It would have been perfect. So I would have preferred if it wasn't two separate games and it was just one that I could jump back and forth from on the go and on my TV. So now that that's done, I'm going to jump into the gameplay. This game is honestly really unique. The combat is like nothing I've ever played. You try and time out different attacks with all three or four of your characters, and it's just a really unique combat. If you're looking at the video, you can see one of your characters stays in the back and does his like magic attacks, while the other two, they're up front and they're attacking with either arrows or swords. Everything is pretty much timing based, so you'll want to perfectly plan out how you want to take out an enemy by like using a magic attack and then going all out with your swords guy, and then you'll be able to weaken him a whole bunch. Unfortunately, sometimes it can feel kind of button mashy, so there's times where you really feel like you're planning everything out and you're doing it all like very strategically and smart, but then there's other times where I was just like, it was so chaotic that I would just be pressing buttons and hoping for the best. Unfortunately, on top of things being chaotic, on the PlayStation Vita version there is some slowdown whenever there's a bunch of stuff happening on screen, so that might bother you, might not bother you. It didn't really bother me a whole bunch, but I just wanted to throw it out there so that you know. So as I mentioned before, the presentation is kind of lacking when it comes to the story and cutscenes and voiceover. There's not really much to it, but with that being said, this is a pretty game whenever you're actually playing it. Like, the gameplay is gorgeous. It almost reminds me of a Vanillaware game. They did like Odin Sphere and Miramasa on Vita. It pretty much looks like that, maybe not as good. I mean, Vanillaware are masters of their craft, but this game's definitely pretty while you're playing it. It's just, I was kind of bummed out that the story didn't really pull me in because the presentation was lacking, and there really isn't much character interaction, so that kind of bummed me out. But if you're looking for some pretty gameplay, this game definitely has that. One thing I did enjoy that I thought was really different is in between battles, you're running toward your next enemy, but the game allows you to make like story-based choices. So you can choose to do something bad and buff something on your team. You can choose to do something good and buff something else on your team. It's really cool, and you have a morale meter, so you don't really want to go too far in either direction. But I really like that was implemented in. It mixes up things a little bit because you're kind of doing the same thing over and over. But one thing I forgot to mention when it comes to presentation is I love this game's soundtrack. They have like some really like melodic songs with some symphonies, and then they have some other like technical, fast-paced, like metal-styled music. It's really cool, and it really sets the tone of the game, which I can appreciate. I do want to throw out there that I haven't completed the game. I did play both versions to see how they stacked up against each other, and I really love the gameplay. It's super unique, and if you're looking for something that's different but in the same ball field as like a JRPG or like Vanillaware title, it's definitely up your alley. It's weirdly like a turn-based action game, which I never thought it would be a thing, but it is, and they did it. It's super cool. Yeah, I really love games like this on the go. If I had to choose one version over the other, I would say the PlayStation Vita version because of the fact that it's pretty much the same game graphically. It might run a little worse, but it's the same game on Vita. It's a lot of fun. This is all I got for you. This is an off-the-cuff review. I hope you check out the game. I think it's worth it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe. Let me know what Vita games or PS4 games you want me to review or do coverage on. I'm Brett Medlock, and I will talk to you guys later.